The key to being ladylike is stepping away from sloppy and lazy behavior. A lady is never sloppy and she is never lazy. Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. My name is Caitlin and I run the blog called Mrs. Midwest. If you've been here before, you probably recognize that we are not in my living room. In fact, we are up north on vacation. So I have some fantastic cat hair that I am hiding, but I'm not going to let that prevent me from keeping to our recording schedule. So today, let's talk about how to be ladylike. I thought it would be so fun to do a lighter topic on the channel, and of course, I am not a guru, as I always say, but I just want to share today some ways that I try to be ladylike in my everyday life and how you can start doing that today. Of course, not all modern women are interested in being ladylike, and that is completely fine. This video is only for people who want to be more ladylike. It's not saying you have to be more ladylike. In history, there were many years where people were very constrained with their behavior. There was a lot of rules, a lot of etiquette, a lot of boundaries on behavior, relationships, clothing, etc. So I feel like in response to that, we've moved very far away from that type of living towards a very casual way of living. We have casual clothing everywhere. We have casual relationships. We have casual attitudes, behaviors. People are very casual. And if you're familiar with my channel, you know that I am not a believer in extremes. I don't believe that to be ladylike, you need to be extremely stuck up or unable to have fun. But I also don't think there's any need to completely forget about manners, completely forget about polite behavior, etc. So today, let's talk about how we can be more ladylike without being stuck up. I think there is a sweet spot. So when I think of the idea of being ladylike, it's not something, like I said, that every woman is interested in, but it's also not something that you can just achieve without effort. Being ladylike takes effort. It takes knowledge. It takes constraint and energy. It takes some forethought into your clothing, your actions, the way you interact with people, etc. I would never expect a young girl or even a teenager to be ladylike because they're young, they're growing, they're blossoming, etc. But when we grow up into feminine women, we have the option of also growing into being classy, elegant, and ladylike. Be ladylike if you have $1 million or $100. You can be ladylike if you are 75, 25. It doesn't matter what you look like, how much money, etc. It's all in the way you carry yourself. So the first part of being ladylike is your body. It's the way you carry yourself in the world. It's about having posture, like I spoke about in my video on elegance. But I like to imagine a set of butterfly wings pinned to the back of my shoulder blades. And the concept is that you want to keep those butterfly wings up straight, not hunched forward. So be aware of your posture. Be aware of the way you carry yourself. When you're walking, it can be easy to forget your posture, but you don't want to be slumping around town like this. That's not ladylike. Your shoulders back is always going to be much more ladylike. Another thing to remember is don't clump heavy when you walk. Glide a little lighter. Don't hunch when you walk, and make sure your feet aren't slapping super heavy on the ground. A lady is light, elegant, and does not make a huge scene when she walks around. Learn how to walk in high heels if you plan on wearing high heels. There's no need to wear high heels if you want to be a lady, but just know that if you are going to wear them, make sure you can walk in them. I would recommend a medium to low heel for the best experience in high heels, and say goodbye to 6-inch stilettos. Sit with your knees together just like the royals do, or cross your legs, but be very aware when you're wearing a skirt what's showing. If you have to shimmy down a church pew or a movie theater aisle, instead of sticking your butt in the people's faces, I recommend facing the people you're passing and kind of like smiling as you walk by. It's important not to stick your rear end in people's faces. In general, just be aware of your body. Be aware of other people. Be courteous, be polite. Even in coffee shops, make sure you don't have bags on the ground that other people are going to trip on. Just be very aware of the space you take up and courteous to other people. As far as eating, chew with your mouth closed. I know many of our mothers have told us this, but I'm going to say it again. Don't gulp down your drinks. Don't scarf down your food. Enjoy delicately. Use utensils when appropriate, and always make sure your fingertips are clean after you eat. Know your limits with alcohol and avoid getting sloppy drunk. That's not ladylike. A lady will cover her mouth when she sneezes or coughs with a tissue or the crook of her elbow, and don't shake someone's hand right after you've sneezed. Excuse yourself to wash your hands. Learn to appreciate a variety of cuisines so that you are not an extremely obnoxious person when a group of people has to go out to eat or when someone's cooking for you. Of course, allergies, food sensitivities, and food habits are one thing, but if you are just a picky eater, unwilling to try new things, that's not exactly the attitude you want to have when you're being hosted by someone. Try to expand your palate and learn different foods, different drinks, and at the very least, compliment anyone who cooks for you and thank them for the effort they put in, even if you didn't enjoy the food. This brings us into our next point, which is interacting with others. When you are in a restaurant in a public setting, make sure you interact with employees with kindness, charm, and grace. Do not be overly difficult, but don't be overly passive as well. If your food is cold, you can send it back. You paid for it, it's a product, you can send it back, but just be nice about it. When you meet people, address them with a handshake and look them in the eye. It is so important to maintain eye contact. That is what adult ladies do. I was a very shy child. I did not like talking to adults, but now that I am a grown lady, I do my best to show that professional eye contact. But after that, get comfortable with small talk. I know it's very trendy to kind of diss small talk, and everyone likes to say how much they dislike small talk, but I view small talk as a way to warm up people in a conversation. Most people aren't just going to sit down with you and have a deep conversation. You first need to talk about the surface issues. Of course, if you only ever talk about surface issues with someone you should be having deeper conversations with, that's a different story. But don't fear small talk. Learn to make light conversation about the weather, the traffic, ongoing events, etc. But be very careful around sensitive topics. Tread lightly around things that will cause arguments, debates, and uproars unless you really want to be involved in that. And always be discreet. For example, if you know someone is going through a divorce, don't bring it up at the dinner party. Whenever there's a sensitive issue in someone's life, allow them to bring it up first. Be very discreet and polite in the way you interact with others. Don't ask them how much their car cost, their house cost, how much they make at their job. Be understanding of people's privacy and the things that they might not want to talk about. If someone pauses and looks uncomfortable after you ask them a question, change the subject. They might not want to answer your question, so always give people a way out. Private people in particular feel very uncomfortable when asked private questions. I am actually one of those people. I can be very private, and I always appreciate when people allow me to talk about my life instead of them asking me too many probing questions. Forget too that interacting with others also takes place online. Be very careful what you send in a text message or online message, because people can screenshot your words and use it against you or share it with other people. It's usually best to keep sensitive conversations over the phone instead of over text, as things can often get miscommunicated over text. When you answer your phone, don't just say hello or what. Let the caller know who picked up the phone and greet them kindly. This also kind of ties into the concept of language, but try to remove swear words, curses, and vulgarity from your language. Having a ladylike approach to language is one that is elegant and free from vulgarity. Instead of saying what when you didn't understand or hear something, try using the phrase, "Pardon me?" It just sounds so much more ladylike. It's something that my mom taught me, and I'm not sure if it's an American thing, but I swear everyone here hollers "what" when they didn't understand you or hear you, and it's very abrasive. Try saying "pardon me" instead. And also, when you get up to use the restroom during a dinner, don't say, "oh, I have to go pee." Instead, say, I have to use the restroom. Keep things private as much as possible and don't allude to bodily functions because I'm sure the person does not care what you're doing in the bathroom. Confirm plans in advance of making them with your friends and always offer to bring something if you're being hosted. One phrase that I have never forgotten from my childhood is when someone told me to quit standing there and be helpful. It was a little harsh, but I love the concept of focusing on being helpful as much as possible. One way to be ladylike and courteous in your life is to be helpful. Be helpful in the moment and be helpful in advance. Be helpful to people walking behind you into a store and hold the door open for them. Be helpful to the old lady who dropped something in the grocery store and pick it up for her. Be helpful to your husband and ask if he needs anything when you get up to go get a drink for yourself. Be helpful to people when you host them and be helpful when you are being hosted. Offer to clear the table, offer to bring a wine or a dessert, salad, etc. Be helpful in every situation and people will for sure notice your elegant and positive attitude. The key to being ladylike is stepping away from sloppy and lazy behavior. A lady is never sloppy and she is never lazy. Which brings me to my next point, that being ladylike does include a level of cleanliness. Make sure your car is clean enough for a passenger to comfortably sit in the front seat. Ensure that your living quarters are clean and tidy. They don't have to look like fixer-upper. You don't have to have Magnolia Market in your house. It just has to be clean. Step away from laziness and force yourself to clean the things in your life. A lady takes great care in the things she's been given and the things she's earned in life. Be aware of the gifts you have and care for them by keeping them clean and well maintained. This also includes your appearance, and I'm going to make a whole video about that, but ensure that you are not being sloppy or lazy with your outer appearance. Being ladylike does take more effort, forethought, and energy to achieve. Because of that, a lady is never sloppy if she can help it, and she's never lazy. A lady will always put in extra work to make other people feel comfortable, and she will always put in extra work to ensure that she's putting her best foot forward in life. Being ladylike will improve your interactions in public and in uncomfortable situations. It can be very hurtful when someone forgets your name. I'm sure we've all been in that position. So a really wonderful way to bless others is to not only listen to their name, but to remember them. Show people you care about them by remembering their name and some other details about them. Remember where they work or what hobbies they like to do or their pet, etc. Just remember things about other people. Do not use your phone at the dining table, and if someone is trying to speak to you, don't be looking at your phone. We all want the attention of the person we're speaking with, and I don't think that's too much to ask. Save time on your phone for moments when you are alone or no one is trying to interact with you. Keep your purse well maintained and make sure that you have everything you need in it. Carry extra tissues, chapstick, all the identification and credit cards you need, and make sure that there's not weird crumbs or crushed receipts filling up the whole purse. I am guilty of this. I always have to do a good purse cleanse at least once a month, otherwise I'm carrying around a month's worth of old chewing gum and who even knows. Clean out your purse, clean out your car, and clean out your home. Of course, as you may have noticed in this video, this is a lot of work, it's a lot of rules, it's a lot of knowledge, and that's why I want to end with the concept that a lady is not hard on herself. Remember that many of us did not have mothers to teach us this stuff. We didn't have finishing schools. We didn't have charm school. Most of you probably didn't have someone telling you to glide instead of clomp through the room. Most of you probably didn't have class in university or high school teaching you to clean out your purse or how to answer the phone. Remember that there is always going to be a learning curve, and I think we can all be more ladylike in our everyday life. But most of all, don't be hard on yourself, and remember, this should all be positive and fun. It should never feel like you're doing these things because you're forced to, or you're doing them against your will. Remember that being ladylike should be your choice and should come from your own heart. I like to try to be ladylike because I feel like it gives me more confidence in my interactions with others, and also just makes life a little bit more old-fashioned and pleasant. No one has to be ladylike if they don't want to, but it can bring a lot of joy and confidence into your life. All right, everybody, thank you so much for watching. This was fun to make. I see my husband down at the beach, and I think I'm going to go join him, but thank you so much for watching. It was really fun to talk about. I think I'm going to make more videos about how to be ladylike. In the meantime, if you are interested in more of this content, please check out my written blog. And as always, if you want to see what I get up to on a day-to-day basis, follow me on Instagram. In total, I hope you have a blessed and ladylike week, my sweet sisters.